So as all of you gathered from the film, my mother is the one with all the cunning in the family, but my father is actually the one who has the better memory. So my dad and I were together setting out to find this camp, and our car turned off of the main highway and got onto this smaller country road, unpaved. And what I remember is that the car was kicking up all of this red dust, and it was coating all of the windows, so it was very difficult to see. And yet I was asking my father to see if he recognized any landmarks. He himself was, physically and emotionally spent after spending a day shooting with me and interviewing with me, and he was saying, I don't remember anything, nothing looks familiar to me. But I was getting worried that, if this was taking much more time, then the sun would go down and we wouldn't be able to shoot anything. So I said, okay, Pa, just relax and just try to remember something. So we continued to drive for a while, and suddenly from the tops of the trees, we were able to see this white concrete structure. And my father said, I think that's the Buddhist temple. And so we turned the car toward it, and we drove toward it. And we got out of the car, and the scene was surprisingly a beautiful and pleasant place. There was this little grove with trees, with paper flowers blooming. And as I mentioned, the sun was just starting to set. And in filmmaking parlance, that's called the golden hour. It's the most beautiful time to shoot anything. And the land was totally empty, save for this one Buddhist temple. Now, during the Khmer Rouge time, Buddhism was banned. And some monks were executed, and all of them were defrocked. And the Khmer Rouge turned these temples, from places of worship into storage depots or hospitals or shelters of some sort. But this particular temple had been restored as a working temple, and there were some monks, milling around. But really, there was nothing else there, not a sign, not a plaque, not any buildings left from the Khmer Rouge time. And it was as if somebody just wanted to wipe away any evidence, any trace, of any memory. And so we're walking through the land, and my father says that, I think I remember where your aunt is buried, and that would be Mala and Lakina's mother. And he asked me if I wanted to go and to find her grave with him. I said yes. So we asked around, and he said, I think that she's buried next to an old latrine. And we asked one of the monks to help direct us, so he brought us to this old latrine, which you saw in the film was just like this wrecked concrete platform with 2 holes on the ground. And my father and I are standing over the latrine, and he's talking about who she was and what she was like. And I remember the thought that came to my mind was that this was such an undignified place to bury her. My father later says to me that, well, actually, your mother and I had wanted to exhume her grave and to rebury her and to give her a proper burial. But coming here today, seeing her now, she seems at peace, and so you'd rather not disturb her. And when he said that, it showed me that actually whoever it was who buried her here, and it may have been my father, was actually granting her a great gift by burying her next to the latrine. Because there was nothing left on the land, no other reminders, we could actually come back and visit her and remember her. And as I looked around the fields around me, I could only speculate that there were hundreds, thousands of others buried just around here in mass graves. And because, those individuals were put into mass graves, it's almost impossible to find them and remember them. So being buried next to the latrine was not an act of indignity, actually, but actually a promise that we would come back, that we would find her, and that we would memorialize her. So that's the story that taught me that despite the fact that, my parents had kept a secret and didn't want to talk about their history, and a lot of other Cambodians don't, And even to this day, I'm not 100% certain that my parents are fully honest with me when they talk to me about their story. This moment taught me that, in fact, they do want to be remembered, and they want their loved ones to be remembered, because if they are not remembered, it's as if we're saying their lives and this loss was not of consequence. So shortly after I finished making New Year Baby, I started this nonprofit organization called Khmer Legacies. And the mission of Khmer Legacies is to document the Cambodian genocide through personal videotape testimonies. So the idea is that the younger generation is interviewing the older generation about the story of their life and the story of their survival. And we want to use that media as an educational tool to teach about genocide. So right now I'm starting to collect testimonies with the Cambodian American community. Lowell, Massachusetts, which is not very far from here, is actually the second largest Cambodian community in the country, and so I do a lot of work with them. My mission is to bring the project to Cambodia itself eventually, perhaps maybe once the tribunal to prosecute the Khmer Rouge, which recently started, once that is over, perhaps that would be a proper climate to do a project like this.